Today, we're going to be talking about the basics of AI, so how LLMs work under the hood. I'm hopeful that this won't be the exact same as something you've seen before. I think there's some nuances that I'll go into today that will hopefully be interesting and clear. Second, hallucinations. I think this is just like a really important point to deeply understand. Like, what is a hallucination? Why do they happen? So I've got a fun live demo, live way to show this today. That'll connect to the rest of the topics. Third, vibe coding. So this is a fun one that's really big in the tech world. And the idea is that you can just chat with AI and have it build you apps, like web applications, just like Penji. You can say, hey, build me a tutor scheduling platform so that I can replace Penji. Don't do that, but you could try it and see how it goes, right? And it's pretty interesting. It'll like build an entire app for you. So I'll show you that. And what's great is we actually have a director on the call today, Jin from Las Positas College in California. And I told Jin about vibe coding 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, and then the next day he had gone and built like a pretty cool drop-in calendar to embed on his center's website, which is now live on the website. So this is a really useful thing that could be interesting for everybody. Automating admin tasks. So this is what I'm hoping y'all will start seeing more and more value over the next 3 years or so with AI. You can kind of make these workflows that use AI in them. So for example, whenever you receive an email in your Outlook or your Gmail inbox, it can be passed into an AI step, which then reads that email and then applies a certain label to it, and then actually does that in your inbox for you. So I'm going to show you how that kind of works. And then another interesting one is just comparing the different top models. So there's a cool place called LM Arena that will help you decide which is better for which task, because they are actually quite different. So that is the agenda today. So let's get going. Basics here, artificial intelligence. So it can be a little confusing, AI versus LLMs. You hear some of these language. So just to, define it, AI would be computers doing human-like tasks. So it's pretty general, and that's the umbrella of AI. LLMs fall under AI, and these are large language models. The attributes of these are they are the text focused large language models. It's focused on text. So they take in text, and then there's the AI's neural net. Like, that's the math that happens every time it makes a prediction. And then it predicts the next word. So text in, predict the next word. And what we'll talk about a lot today is that it literally does this for every word in its response. So if you ask, what is the capital of France? It could just say Paris, or it could say the capital of, and it goes like every word, and it predicts the most likely next word. So that's large language models. There's also computer vision is kind of a bucket for artificial intelligence. So this is taking in images, which are like data. The data from an image is like a bitmap. So it's a grid of pixels, for example. And then it looks at that data type and then predicts some output. So maybe it's a security camera trying to predict whether there's like a threat or someone that shouldn't be there or something like that. So that's computer vision. Then you have robotics is another one. Can use computer vision, but this would be like sensor data in the physical world. And then, what should the next physical action be? So it's like a robot trying to fold laundry. It would look at the clothes and then decide I should move the arm here, right? So this predict is highlighted because that's what AI really is it's taking in data and then predicting something. And you train it to predict the right answer pretty much. And then there's other things that I don't, those are the ones that come to mind right away. All right. So into LLM specifically, something that I think is important to grasp is that these models, you might have heard a lot of buzz about GPT-5, so ChatGPT's most recent thing. GPT-5 is its own static, pretty much, thing. It's like a finished product. It's sort of stuck in time. Now, they do make some updates to these, but the training of these models is a discrete, like large event that they do. And what happens is this big neural network, which is the model, is slowly honed to predict words in a very effective way, right? And so when it's done, this is sort of, it's all the information in that model is contained in the model. And so you go to use an old model, GPT-4, GPT-3, it's kind of like you could think of them like people, and they have their certain way of thinking and way of replying to things, and the knowledge in their head, things they recall, like they are different from one another. And these models are sort of static. So I'll show you that. We're going to look at like an old model today and what type of responses it predicts, what type of things it says. So training is the process of creating this like LLM slash person kind of idea. And so training is where you pass in a lot of data and then you slowly tweak it so that it starts to get better and better at predicting things. And another way to think about this is LLMs compress information. So GPT-5 has gone through the process of compressing, kind of training on a bunch of information, the entire internet, and then a lot more, right? So they'll get other data sets to feed into the training. And so it sort of sees all this, it learns the patterns and all this, and then it's done. And so this is like this is like a bunch of information compressed into this model. And it can kind of spit some of this information back out. This is a critical one, just to make sure everyone truly grasps, and it's pretty crazy to me, but they really just predict one word at a time, and predict is the key thing here. So they take a set of input tokens. So what are the best places to visit in France? The LLM sees these words. It actually breaks them down as tokens, but we'll talk about that shortly. It sees these words and then it predicts the literal next word. That's it. And so it has a statistical model based on its training data. It says, when I see these words all in my input, like what's the likeliest next word? So a few options might be right? You could say the best places, or you could say maybe France has a lot of great places. Um, and so it would try and predict the next word. In this case, it chose France, and it is a bit random in terms of like it samples from the distribution, so it could say a different thing each time you ask the question. So it says France. Well, then it looks at all these 8 words, including this now, and says, well, when I have all these, I should probably say something like France has, right? And it sampled that word. What would be the next likely word? Countless. It could also have said France has many or France has a lot, right? But it just is sampling one word at a time. And then that's how it builds responses. So you do notice in the responses, it goes like line by line. It's just doing this really fast. So it's a statistical model predicting the next word. And that's why, like, it's the reason I think this is so important is it doesn't have any sense of like correctness or logic or like, does this make sense? It actually just says the thing that sounds the most right. This that based on all of its training data, that it says the words that are the likeliest to be said in that instance. And so when you think about it doing biology problems or chemistry problems or like things that students are using this for, it's just like recalling what is probably the likeliest thing that will be said. So if it's trying to do math, it's not doing math. It's like predicting the word, and it's still a language model, right? It's predicting the word, i.e., the number that should go in the equation. So that's why it's been historically bad at math. People like, our brains were actually kind of doing math. There's sort of a way to do that. Like, these are just predicting words and trying to do math in that way. So that's pretty interesting to me. Okay, so I'll try and go somewhat quick here so we can get to some of the useful practical things for learning centers. But I find this to be pretty interesting and useful, kind of doubling down. So we have pre-training, you have fine-tuning, and you have reinforcement learning. I'm just going to talk about pre-training and show a kind of a fun demo. But this is the first bulk training stage. And so what happens is you are training this neural network, this model, on the entirety of the internet. So this link here, well, I'll share the slides after, has the entire internet on it, and it's in these different documents. And so you can see here, this is like a healthcare article or like an education article. This is like a car wash for Clara post. This is all the internet or all the data on the internet just in one big set. So what happens is people then put this together into a big text document like this. So it's just everything on the internet. And then you tokenize it. So this is probably an area I'll gloss over, but the main thing here is that computers see in numbers, not in words. So you can kind of think of it like words, but it does translate. There's like a process for translating these words into numbers, and the computer can digest the numbers well. So on this is like a tokenizer, you can put in a string. There's a link here. You can put in a string and it'll tell you these are the tokens that are involved in the string. The computer sees it as these little numbers. You'll see here Paris in all caps is actually split into two tokens because it's all, if it was lowercase, it would be one token generally, but now it's more efficient for it to say PAR is a token and IS is a token. So there's this, this translates words into tokens. And so this is back to the entire, this is the entirety of the internet again on the right, all in token format. You'll see here 11 is highlighted. So what is 11? Well, 11 turns out to be a comma. So you can see here, 11 is a comma. So this is the computer's way of reading, like seeing text. So you've now taken the entirety of the internet, you've turned it into numbers that the computer can see. And now what you do is you feed this into the training process and it starts to learn the patterns that it's seeing in these numbers. And that's all it's doing, really. It is noticing that whenever 11 happens, it's quite common that I'll see, it's just a comma, it's common that I'll see the word but after maybe, right? So like you could say, I really like pasta, comma, but my favorite food is pizza or something. And so it would notice that 11 is followed by the token for but a lot. And then it starts to observe these different patterns. And it's very smart at this, so it can look at many, many tokens before and decide, oh, when these 7 tokens are all related, then this next one will come next. And that's why this is such an expensive and big process with billions of parameters. It gets really good at this and starts to say coherent things. So, this is just a graphic that you could look into later a little bit if you want to, but it kind of shows that this is what happens. It takes in 4 tokens, for example. It says these 4 tokens, bar, viewing, single. It's like a social media thing or blog. Viewing single post is actually what it was going to say. The neural network then predicts the probabilities of the next token, like I showed earlier with the France thing. And then it compares what it selected to the correct answer. If it got it wrong, it will bump up the probability. It'll change the neural network to bump up the probability of the correct word. So I won't get into this too much. It's getting a little into the weeds, but basically this is the training process. It takes a sample of words. We know the true next word because we have the actual data, but we ask the neural network to predict the next word. It will usually get it wrong. And then what we do is we tweak the network slightly. We tweak the AI model slightly so that the probability of the right answer goes up a little bit. And that's the training process. And you do this over and over and over again with all the text in the internet, like repeatedly, different sets of it. And you compare the correct answer to the one that the model predicted. And if it was wrong, you make a slight adjustment to get it slightly more right. And now you're sort of morphing this very complex neural network so that it is getting things right more and more. And then it's a very generalizable like knowledge that gets built into this network. And so then it starts to just predict useful things no matter what you ask it. Um, so yeah, to me, this was just really interesting to understand deeply that it's just guessing the best thing based on its training. And this explains hallucinations, which we'll get into here shortly. Going to leave that for now and show kind of a fun, interesting demo here on hallucinations. So there is this website called Hyperbolic. Probably, you could check it out yourself, but you have to put in like $5 in order to do what I'm about to show here. So this allows you to look at old models and see and use them basically. So right here is something called Llama, which is like Facebook's models. It's an open source model, which is why we're using it. These are all the open source ones. And this one's a base model. So the key with a base model is that it hasn't been trained on these next ones, fine tuning and reinforcement learning. It's just been pre-trained. And so what's interesting about this is it is not trained to like stop hallucinations. So when you go to ChatGPT and you ask it something that's not real, it will usually be like, I don't know anything about that, and I don't know who that is or something, right? But with the base model, those safety layers haven't been added on, and it's just the normal behavior of the model. So it will just try its best all the time. And this is what hallucinations really are, is these models will almost always try their best, except for there's these like safeguards that have been layered in to try to get them to say, I don't know. So if you say like, who is Tom Cruise? Well, this model was trained on all the internet's data, so it'll probably know that I should predict some things that are Tom Cruise, like I should say some things about Top Gun or like whatever actor. And so it seems to be like giving us the Wikipedia page, actor and producer, right? So that's all expected. But then if you say, who is Christoph Hernandez? I don't think this is a real person. Um, and it still tries. They think it's a celebrity from France. Um, and I don't think that's true. And then it's just choosing words. Yeah, professor, it's not a famous person. It's just choosing words that it thinks will sound right. And that is why these things are so honestly dangerous and why I'm like, it's important to build the healthy skepticism of these models because now it thinks that he was arrested and there's mugshots and such going on, right? And if you just keep saying this, it'll keep predicting words and going off into random tangents that sound plausible, but actually are totally made up. And I've been running into more and more hallucinations in my usage of Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude. Like they have not fixed this problem. And the problem is it's mostly right, but then the hallucinations, your guard is down because you don't um, you're not as skeptical anymore. And it'll slip in things that are just, they sound super plausible, but they're actually not true at all. So I know this is a big, people know about these and all that, but to me, this is an interesting example. I'm taking a lot of this from this like great YouTube video that I watched on this. It'll just keep going and making things up. So that's hallucinations. And so this is hyperbolic. I have these examples in the slides. Kind of fun. By the way, I've talked to a number of directors that I know want to put on workshops for their tutors. So I'm hoping to hear your thoughts on basically share these slides, share this imagery, and maybe help you all develop workshops that you can give to your tutors who can then teach students. So I'm curious your feedback at the end on which of these feel like useful things to try and teach tutors and all that. All right. So that's hallucinations. Um, yeah, and this is the final thing here is just the nature of the LLMs, even the ones we all use today, is to just try to sound plausible. And I think that's where it gets dangerous is um, it sounds really convincing. And this is why this is, kind of a demo of like how they work under the hood that makes them act like that. It's just predicting the most likely next word based on its training data. So this one needs to be called vibe coding. So now we're going to move on to a really fun segment. And for this, I'm going to invite Jin up on stage. Jin is a longtime Penji user at Las Positas. So Jin, I'm going to promote you to panelist and see how that works. While that's happening, quick introduction to vibe coding. So vibe coding is a term invented by this guy, Andre Karpathy. This is actually the YouTube video I referenced, and I'll share this with you. But it basically means using AI to write your code for you. So software developers like Penji could and do use AI to generate code. It's really good at generating code. And there's reasons for this, but this is the thing that AI is actually like the best at. There's a lot of real world value being realized and people writing software faster. These vibe coding tools, Lovable and Replit, are examples. You can try them yourself. They have like a free period where you can actually go build an app yourself and then it'll start asking you for money, of course. Um, and and so these are pretty cool. It's a fun demo. You can just go sign up through Gmail, ask it to build you anything, and it's a really it's like an interesting thing. So I'd recommend it. But they help you build web apps, and they're actually really functional right away. They start breaking down if you try to scale it up to like for example, if you actually tried to build a competing tutor scheduling system to Penji, like it would, it's a good idea, but it would probably start to like break down on you once you get into adding drop-in, you have events, and starts going crazy. But it's good for simple stuff. So, anyways, Jin, would you mind saying quick hi, introducing yourself, and then sharing a little bit about what you set out to build?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Got
Yeah.
you. My name's Jen. I'm the tutoring center at Las Positas Community College, which is in the East Bay of the Bay Area near San Francisco. In the chat, I'm gonna just drop in the link that has all the stuff that I'm gonna show you. Um, I made two things on Lovable just on their free account. I've since upgraded and paid the 25 bucks a month. Um, and I'm gonna just quickly share my screen and show you the two things I made and how quickly Lovable can make them. Let's share screen.
And you'll do a lot of drop-in tutoring, right, at your center?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do mostly drop in. So
Yep.
I'm gonna just get right to the fun part. I'm gonna take this prompt and I'm gonna dump it into Lovable. I wanted to make a kiosk that where students can put in like how good we're doing. And I was about to pay Happy or Not $700 a year to like have a subscription for that. And Lovable took 13 seconds to figure it out, and now it's going to build it while it's building it. I'll show you the other thing I made. Um, I've been bugging Ben to make me a calendar that I can put on my website, and he hasn't done it, so I did it myself. So this is my drop-in calendar where I can sort like these are all my econ tutors, and if I want econ one, these are my econ drop-in tutors right here. So I can now sort everything in here based on competency, which I've never had before. Just launched it last week, got great feedback. Um, Students and faculty can finally see what we have to offer without having to log into Penji. Only complaint I've had is they want to be able to like book an appointment. So they want this to be drop-in and appointment based. The goal
Hmm.
is to get this into like counselors' websites, into Canvas pages so that everyone can use it. Go back to Lovable, still spinning up its,
Quick question for you
yeah,
while we're waiting for this. And this is the experience. I'm glad you're doing a live demo here. Like you put it in and it's actually just building stuff behind the scenes. If you click show all there on the editing down there, Jen. So yeah, it's sort of showing the files it's editing. If you're like into software, like it is making all these files and should work eventually. But um, so Jin is not you're not a software developer, right? Jin, you've never
no,
done any. No, right?
no.
And how long did it take you? Oh, here we go. It finished its first thing. Let's see if it actually did anything. How long did the thing you showed that is already live on your website take you? Okay. If you want to switch over to this, this is good now. I was
Yeah,
sort of
we're
filling
live.
time. Yeah.
Very happy. View dashboard. I've got a kiosk ready to go like within like, you know, 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
And I
And
can
so,
customize this to how I want it better than what, I would have paid money for. I mean, I would have paid $700 a year for this, and I built it in like 5 minutes.
right.
Or I
And
didn't
so if
build
you
it.
wanted to change something like you would just chat with the thing,
Yep.
right? Let's say you wanted to, I don't know, make it
Add
blue.
branching
Yeah.
to each option so the user can give me more specific feedback.
Nice. So after their first selection, you want you know have another text
Yeah, like
box or something.
what did we do
What did you
well?
like about it? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Um, yeah, fascinating. So that's kind of the idea.
yeah.
Thank you
That's
for
it
the live
basically.
demo. Yeah, it's really fast, and the fact that you have it live on your website was pretty cool to see. So, how it's still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I think that's the thought is like small tools. And Jen's been asking Penji to build this for forever. So why haven't we now that there's all this vibe coding going on, right? When you have like a big system where you need everything to keep working, it makes mistakes, it introduces bugs, and it starts to become kind of a nightmare. So Hopefully in 3 years we can just be doing this at Penji, and it's so good at like a complex system that it can do databases and do all the things. But it's pretty interesting from a tech perspective. And then the fact is that like the fact that learning centers can make small little tools for themselves rather than buying it or shopping for it, I think is the maybe the appeal. So thank you, Jin, for the demo. That was awesome.
Yeah, my
So
pleasure.
cool. Okay, I will try to finish up my little segment and then I'm going to invite everybody up onto stage. You can keep your video off and muted if you don't have any interest in talking, but we'd just love to hear what resonated and how things are going with AI at your center. So I think I have one more section here just on this process automation. So I do expect that as these tools get better, like Jin showed, and as the one I'm going to show gets better and easier, and people are more aware, I expect there will be real value in people automating steps of their job, small steps that they do frequently that will start to be useful to everybody and will be more commonly used. So let me see here. There we go. Okay. All right, so that's what I'm going to show today is a different sort of take on that, which is Zapier. And so Zapier, let's see, just pull it up. Just a quick show of how this works. So Zapier, you might have heard of it before, actually. Zapier is a process automation tool. And it's pretty simple. It's really usable, and it integrates with all sorts of systems. So it connects different systems. So the basic way that Zapier works is you make a zap, you create a trigger. So this is my trigger, and I can choose what app I'm triggering from. So right now I have, I could do Google Calendar, a new calendar event is created. I could do Slack, I get a new message in this channel. I can do Calendly, so somebody books a meeting with this specific meeting URL. Those are triggers to kick off an automation. So for example, if you had a URL for a Calendly or bookings link, it was when it's like Tutor scheduling interviews with your program. You could use that as a trigger. And so anytime anybody schedules an interview with you, you could easily connect that to fire off a notification in Slack, or to, you know, create a new Google Drive folder to prep for their appointment so it's easier for you. You could take a survey response from their Calendly and then, put that into, some document. So that's the basic idea is you have a trigger and you want to automate something in another system, and it's really easy to do. So it's useful for that. But what's very interesting is that you now have these AI steps. So they're getting, of course, everyone's like saying that they are an AI company now. So Zapier calls himself this is like let's see if it'll load. Oh, the connected AI orchestration platform. So they've leaned fully into saying their whole platform is now about AI orchestration. And so the idea is I have this connected to my personal email right now. I have a test data. So when a new email comes in is the trigger that I have. This is the data that it's showing. This is like a test email, a real email from my personal email. And this is all the data that it has about the email that I can use later in the Zap. And here's the body. And so let's see, there's like a plain text one. So this is actually a notification from Zapier saying that they were granted access to my linked Google account. You know how you get those. So this is the email that came in as an example. Anytime I get an email now, it will trigger this Zap, is the thought. I haven't published it yet. So what's interesting is you can then have an AI step, and this is an AI step, and you can go to Prompt Builder, and then you can connect it to, they include OpenAI's which one is it? O4 Mini for free. Otherwise, you set up your own API key and you pay very small pennies for every call, kind of thing, for all the different models. You can choose your model. And then you do is you build a prompt. So this is just like if I was let me try and zoom in here. You can go test this in ChatGPT. It's the same thing, like going and putting a message into ChatGPT, basically. And so I said, um, this is a different example. Um, So this is basically you put in a prompt and you use the fields from the earlier step. So new email in Gmail, there was like plain text, looked like the folder body plain. This is the text from the email. And so you can say, please read the following email. And then this is a prompt engineering trip or like tip, I meant to say, where you can put these tags. They're called XML tags. You can sort of tell the model this is the email copy, so it clearly sees what you're saying, and then determine if this is has a deadline coming up or appears urgent for some other reason. If so, output as urgent. And then basically you can configure the output fields, and this would be like urgency or like label. And then I would say urgent. And basically then you can pass this off to the next step, which sets a label in Gmail. So you can build your own email automation or like assistant, I guess, which reads your emails and makes decisions. And that's what AI is good at, is like can make kind of decisions that are a bit fuzzy, that are more like a human thing. Just like you could put it in ChatGPT and say, like, do you think this email looks urgent? It would say, no, this looks like a spam email, or yes, this looks like your doctor asking you for something before your appointment tomorrow. And so then you can just um, automate things and build a labeler or build like a put it into a Google Sheet for like tutor applicants, right? So I could imagine in a lot of your workflows that you know tutor hiring, you could build some interesting stuff that'll just save you recurring tasks and things that you have to do, and just automating some of those workflows. So that is Zapier. I asked y'all for some examples of things you do manually in your center. There's a lot of good ones there, and so we maybe could dive into like making some automations for those. A lot of them are Penji related, no surprise. And this doesn't integrate with Penji, right? So you have to like build out these API things. But um, I think the final thing I just want to mention that I just discovered or learned about yesterday and have started testing that I do think y'all should be aware of. So just like an early peek, browsers are going to be the next big thing. And so the idea with the browser is it actually is you in the browser and acts as you in the browser. So here is Facebook. And here's Facebook Marketplace. I'm in the Perplexity browser right now. And I'm in Marketplace, and you can tell it to do things, and it'll just be you in the browser. And so what this does is it turns every system into like an AI connected system. So if Penji was up here, and I should do a demo with actually Penji, I think this would be interesting. It could use Penji logged in as you, just like in your browser. And so we're trying to sell our like bassinet, And so I said research the going price for this new bassinet in the Denver area, and then it goes and actually looks up posts in Facebook and then does it, and then I could have it go and make the posting for me. One of the big demos people are excited about is like you can have it take your shopping list in your Alexa or whatever, and then go and build your cart in Instacart and like look up recipes and like just build a cart. And then, instead of you having to go and do that, the browser is just acting on your behalf in any website that you possibly use. Like it's just doing this and deciding what's a good price. Um, so I think we're right at the beginning of actually AI being useful, not just for writing emails, which everybody uses it for, but like automating processes and saving time. So I think this could be good at learning centers, and we'll have to do some demos on like how could Penji's site be used and all that. But yeah, super interesting. I'm gonna stop this, and then we'll move on, and I'll cut that from the recording. So, yeah, that is. Oh, thank you, Carolyn, for letting me know you're still seeing Zapier. Um, darn, I'll have to. Okay, I'm gonna do it really quick. It's a quick demo, and I'm gonna switch my screen share to the entire screen. Thanks for the heads up. So, this is Perplexity's browser, Perplexity browser. It's early access. It's not. I don't know if you'll be able to get it. I just like got access to 1Password, I guess, as a partnership with them, but it's going to be coming out soon to everybody. And so here is Facebook Marketplace. Um, and so what I asked it to do is research the going price for a new baby bassinet in the Denver area and give me the price I should list for a like new thing. Chat me if this isn't sharing correctly. And so it's going to use the browser now and do this. It'll like normally I would go and search for like 10 versions and try and get a sense of like what I should list it for. And I could just have it do that, and I could have it draft me a post and even post it. So I could just tell it to go do this for me, and it would do a pretty good job because AI is like decent at thinking about these kind of things. Oh, there's 10 posts and they're averaging $650, and the like new ones are 700. So here you go. So that is the thing that I was just demoing. So that is browsers, and like I think this is emerging quickly. Cool. So yeah, I think it'd be fun to get into people's day-to-day learning center workflows more and then build out some automations. I think it could be useful. All right, that is Zapier. So that's pretty much it. We're a little over the 30 minutes I targeted, but not too much. So just to recap, we kind of went through the basic way that LLMs work, and they're just predicting words, and that's why they try to sound really convincing, but sometimes that's dangerous because they just try to say what sounds right, even if they don't know what's going on. Talked about the training process, how that works, demo of hallucinations, Tom Cruise and Christoph Montrose, and then vibe coding. So yeah, building apps and workflows for specific little use cases. So I'm going to pull folks up on the stage, and then we'll go through a couple quick questions and hear your thoughts on all this, and we'll go from there. As I said, please feel free to remain muted or turn off your video if you don't want to chat, and that's fine. You can just listen in. So let me try this. I'm just promoting everyone to panelist. I think this works, but we'll see if I got that wrong. You may see a notification on your screen where you have to accept it. Great. Yeah, you can decline it. And um, yeah, if you decline, you'll just stay listening in, so you don't even have to keep video off and mute if that's your preference. I think that's how it works. Cool. Okay. Um, so I think, the question that I have is who is doing training to tutors about AI right now, and how are you approaching it today? That'd be maybe an initial question. Carolyn, looks like you are.
Yeah, we're actually doing our first AI training next week, so this was like pretty timely, and it was really
Cool.
beneficial to see how we are also doing kind of like a hey, let's look under the hood. We talk about tokens, we talk about how it's trained. Um,
Cool.
I like how you talked about hallucinations. I think we could improve. We just kind of like mention hallucinations and we've pulled some like articles, but I think actually showing that this is how it
How it
right?
happens.
And a
Yeah.
lot of our training right now is geared towards how do we approach students bringing in AI. Either they're doing it on their own volition, they're doing it because so we have a couple instructors who use it in their like ask tutor students to use it in their assignments, and
Okay.
so we show examples of that, and also just kind of addressing, I think a big reason we decided to push this now is our college is in a particularly interesting place where the college has not decided either way their stance on AI, so they're letting instructors kind of
Yeah.
decide for themselves. And so we're just kind of addressing like what is our role as tutors in helping students make autonomous informed decisions, like if they how students can be using it, if that's within what their instructor will let them do. Because some instructors are like, yes, let's use it in the actual assignment, and some instructors are like, I don't want to see any AI in my
Right.
class. And so it's a weird place for tutors to navigate, and tutors have their own opinions. And so just kind of having a broader discussion about AI as well, and about kind of like trying to take it as a big piece. And then we're forming more of like a committee to keep up with having ongoing conversations about it. So we might get into more of these other tasks that you're showing with our tutors like down the line.
Cool. Great. Thanks. And maybe just one follow-up on that would be, um, are you hoping slash instructing your tutors to try to guide students a little bit on how to use AI effectively and where it can be dangerous and all that? Or is it mostly just to like arm them just so they know what's going on? To what extent are you hoping they're actually going to teach students about this?
Yeah, I think that that's something that, so we run a learning center with we actually have 5 different campuses, so we have like 5 different managers. And so I think
Yeah.
we're all a little, we're kind of still trying to decide that for ourselves. We're all a little bit divided on that in some ways. I think the approach we've all agreed on right now is like promoting AI literacy. Like
Yeah.
our tutors need to be literate to understand, both to arm themselves, and also if a student wants to come in and talk about it, right? We're there to help students with their goals, and it's not for me to tell a student, hey, this is what your goal should or shouldn't be in regards
Right.
to AI. So
Yeah.
I think that's what we are, but as well as doing it in a way that is literate. We do talk about in our training some of the controversies of AI, as well as some of the things that it is really useful for, because I think
Yeah.
it's important that if a tutor is like excited about AI and trying to guide a student, that student might be like, I will never use AI because of the environmental factors, right? And
Hmm.
so I want tutors to be prepared for that, that like this is a bigger spectrum of um I hate to,
Decision.
yeah, decisions. I hate to be dramatic, but we're trying to like talk about the existentialism, or at least
Yeah.
address the existentialism of it a
In the
little bit,
room. Yeah.
so that we're not pushing our tutors to use it kind of either way. We're trying to respect their autonomy in that line
Cool.
as well. So
Great.
it's a weird stance.
Yeah, 100%. Very confusing. Yeah, Edward.
Sort of to back up what Carolyn's saying, since we work together, uh, we're also trying to be very mindful and careful since our college hasn't even developed its own AI policy, and
Right.
quite a few of our instructors as a community college are unaware of AI, or at least uncomfortable with AI. We are very cognizant of that fact when talking with our students about it, because again, if the faculty member is saying no AI allowed because they're still unsure of it, or they want to make sure that everything they're getting is actual student work and not anything else, then we don't want to be the ones saying, hey, let's check AI out on something like that. So, like Carolyn said, we're really trying to help the tutors understand it so that
Mm,
if a student comes in and is using it already, we can talk with them with some level of understanding of some of the pitfalls, some of the worries, as well as some of the benefits of it, and can
yeah.
help them with it. And if a faculty member has an assignment, we can help the student use the correct things with the assignment. But we're very
Yeah.
careful to steer away right now from the quote unquote teaching piece.
Yeah. If anybody else has any comments on that as well, that's a question I've had um, is everybody feeling very tentative to lead in this area because nobody knows what they're doing or what the policy is or whatever. Does anyone else echo that a little bit? Like we all need to be careful because the college is the one that needs to decide what we do here and we can't step on anyone's toes. I don't know if anyone has additional thoughts on that. It's a very interesting, I don't know, gray area for everyone right now.
Well, and also we have to think about the IT piece of it, because with colleges and universities, they have to be very careful of the PII, the personal
Yeah.
identifiable information. And so use of AIs has only just recently opened up for staff at our institution, because they've identified an AI platform that have agreements not to use any of our data or not to add any of what we're doing into the language
Yeah.
repository and libraries, and that has to come into the discussion as well because we're trying to make sure we're not jeopardizing our college's cyber insurance and all the rest of it. So
Right.
it's a really tough spot to be in as learning centers because we want to be able
Yeah.
to help the students. We understand AI is the way of the future, or at least that it is becoming a part of our future in some
Yeah.
form or another. But yeah, if we jump out in the head, we could get smacked back into the past.
Yes. Good way to put it. Great. Well, we got a few more minutes here. One question I had is there anything that I touched on today that you'd be curious to hear more about, right? Like deeper dive into X, Y, or Z. Anything stand out? You can post in the chat or speak up, and no problem if not.
To be honest, I was very interested in Jin's
Vibe coding.
I developed reaction and feedback piece. We've been also looking at what we could do for feedback from our students in just a regular sense and something very simple and easy, which that certainly is. So thank you, Jin, for showing that. Love to see a little bit more about that because we are in the same boat and need to find something we can use. So, good example
Nice.
of a real great use case for AI in our situation without really going into, feed it a whole bunch of data that we don't want to give it to give us back information, which is what I keep hearing every time when people talk about AI. Oh, throw it all in AI and let it figure out what's going on. Well, we can't do
Can't
that.
do that. Yeah. Cool. Great. Any other comments before we move on? Cool. Jen says, FYI, heard that kiosks get a 13% response rate, which is way better than email surveys. So let us know how it goes, Jen. We'll get kind of close the loop on that one. And yeah, everyone else, if you end up using any of these things or like building your own tool for something, please let me know, and I'd love to distribute that to the rest of the community. Um, One thing I said I would touch on but didn't, this is just kind of a fun thing to be aware of, is it's called LM Arena. So if you go to lmarena.ai, Google it, and here you have a leaderboard. This is votes. People vote on what things are the best for different areas. So text generation. So people think Gemini 2.5 Pro is the best at generating text and emails and writing, whereas Claude Opus, and then you have a bunch of ChatGPTs. Um, Web development, GPT-5 is the top right now. Vision, Gemini, text to image, don't even know what that is, but yeah. Jin, you raise your hand.
Yeah, Ben, I'm just curious on your perspective because love using Lovable, and I saw that you had also put up Replit. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many AI platforms. In your experience, have you seen that Lovable and Replit are the best ones to experiment with right now?
I think they're the market leaders. So they're the ones that most people are using. So I would say yes. I just got a YouTube ad for this the other day, and it's another one. And you just, oh, I'm super zoomed in. But yeah, you just sort of type in here as well. So I'm not, I would say Lovable and Replit would be the ones I would go with. Yeah. And then if you want to go a level deeper, you can just ask the AI how to do all of this, but you can, and this is the way to do it, actually more sophisticated, I guess. You can get a code editor and you can ask ChatGPT, how do I do all this? It's quite easy. Get a code editor, and then you use Claude Code is the best actual vibe coding thing right now, but it's not like a web interface to make it like so easy as you saw, like magic like that. It's you actually are in a code editor telling it what to do, and you can see the files it's doing. So it's just like a level more sophisticated, but still pretty easy. Okay, well, I think that's pretty much it. Any other comments folks want to share before we wrap up?
I appreciate
Yeah,
appreciate this, Ben. It was really nice and helpful, and it was good to
cool.
see an example of how to present it in a simple way. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for saying so. And thank you, Jin, for helping with the real world example there. Carolyn?
Will you just say one more time what the platform you were using to show the hallucinations was?
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's called Hyperbolic.
Gotcha.
And just to show you real quick, it is you're going to go into it, you're going to sign up, you're going to go to this models tab. The first thing is GPUs. I think you can like rent GPUs, like NVIDIA chips to train your models on. So, but if you go to models, it hosts these models. And then the key here is that this llama one, it says base, right? So these are all assistant models that'll be better at not hallucinating. This one is the base model without having those layers of safety in there. And then finally, you'll have to deposit at least $5, and it very slowly dwindles. So yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
yep. If you wouldn't mind sharing, I don't know if you record it or slides or whatever, Carolyn, but I'd love to see how your workshop goes or like the way that you're presenting it.
Sure, yeah. We would love to share it with you.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Well, thank you all. Thanks for coming. Hope it was useful. And we will chat later. So have a good day.
Thanks, Ben. See you.
Thanks, Ben.
Bye bye.